First thing is the adoption of the agenda. If there's no additions or corrections, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Do we want to put the memorandum in the agenda?
Yeah, we might add it here. Do you want that in your section? I'll take the UV, or I can do it, either one. Here, I think you can handle it. Just add the memo in your section.
Okay.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the minutes of the previous meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review those?
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Nice to see that there were no additional incidents last couple of weeks. We'll move into reports. Eric, good morning.
Morning. Do you have a couple action items this morning? First one, the driveway asphalt, crack seal, and overlay repairs. There's an overlay of the driveway done in the fall of 2008. It's started to crack and a bunch of weeds growing through. We'd like to have the cracks cleaned out and sealed to prevent further damage. And additionally, a section of asphalt on the south end of the plant going up the hill towards the aeration basin has deteriorated quite a bit, and it's going to need to be overlaid and milled. And we received 3 bids, opened them on August 7th, and with that, our motion to accept the bid for Breck paving for $43,250 for crack seal and overlay repairs on the driveway asphalt.
When could they start?
It was this month. It was within my
The other side, we're just going to crack seal it good enough. It doesn't need to be milled down or anything.
right.
It's going to take care of it.
Yeah, it was just
Pretty good. It came in well under budget. Make the motion to accept the bid from Breck Paving for $43,250 for crack seal and overlay repairs on the driveway asphalt.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the bid from Fitch Paving for $43,250 for crack seal and overlay repairs on the driveway asphalt. If there's no additional questions, all in favor please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And the next one is on the UV disinfection replacement. Jeff and I have been working with Ray Lindsay and Burns McDonald on the replacement UV system at the plant. Burns McDonald continues to work on finalizing the design. We have worked with Ray Lindsay and Company on equipment, installation, and cost. Timing continues to be our main concern. Receiving installation of the equipment before our next recreational season, which starts April 1st, 2025. We've included the latest proposal from Ray Lindsay for the supply and installation of new UV equipment. MMU will perform demo and electrical work required. The pricing includes equipment, which is $484,500, and installation, which is $198,035. Total cost of $682,535. In addition, they have added allowances for several items and a 10% contingency due to design and not being finalized. So with that, a recommendation and motion to accept the proposal from Ray Lindsay Company for the supply and installation of the Trojan 3000 plus UV system, including gates and actuators as presented.
Is this the same system you went and viewed in Warrensburg?
Yeah, it's the exact same.
Exact same.
Yep.
I've kind of read through this. What's their warranty on their parts and pieces?
1 year. 1 year, and then and they've got a guarantee on, I think it's a lifetime guarantee on treatment, but I think the main components was 12 months, 1 year.
So the idea is to have this done by recreational season.
Yes.
Can we start on our end, the demo and everything right away, I guess?
We'd have to wait till or November 1st because we're in our recreational season for this year.
Until it
Yeah.
ends, yeah.
Yeah, we've got that small window.
Right, it's gonna be tight.
Is this something they have available, I'm assuming, right away? I mean, if you're gonna demo it in November, that they can, it's in-house and ready to go, or?
Yeah, they're working on the shop drawings for it now, and that's kind of while we're trying to get ahead. They have to go through the shop drawings and okay those, and I know like the actuators are the biggest lead time item. But yeah, they showed no problems with having anything else available.
Yeah, they took the actuators are really the big one, and I think last time we talked to Amanda, they were right at that April 1st deadline. That's what controls the gates, which is your flow, and we may be able to put some manual adjustments in there in the time being so we can maintain compliance. So we've kind of talked, but I think the actuators were really the only one of the critical components we're really worried about, but I think everything else is pretty much readily available.
Yeah, but they're not gonna put it on order until we commit to this thing either, so
Right.
if we push it off, we're just extending that.
Right, yeah,
time.
that's the push. We've got to, to get this equipment ordered. Now we finally got it down. We removed all the electrical work. We've been negotiating with them, trying to get this price down and use our in-house labor where we can, like we typically do, and that's knocked some more dollars off the overall project. The overall project budget's $1 million, Tony, and it'd be around, 300,000 under that.
So would we go ahead and pay for part of that out of this year's budget and then the rest of it?
Carried over into next
Oh,
year.
okay.
Yeah, I don't
All right.
think we pay for any of it until
All right.
maybe a small part, but majority of the expense will be in next year.
I wouldn't think anything in the next month and a half at the very.
You good with?
Yeah, good. I'd make a motion, excuse me, a motion to accept the proposal from Ray Lindsay Company for the supply and
Motion been made and seconded. Ray Lindsay Company for the supply and installation of a Trojan 3000 plus UV system, including gates and actuators as presented. If there's no additional questions, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Don't have anything else to add to what's in the packet. Answer any other questions?
Plant overall run pretty smooth.
Yeah, it's going real well.
All the foam kind of gone now.
We're getting it settling back in the basins. Kyle actually showed me the numbers from this morning, and we're right where we need to be.
Good. Excellent.
Anything else for Eric? Thank you, Eric. Travis, good morning.
Good morning. I do have an action item for you guys this morning. It's to dredge Lagoon number 2. There are sludge lagoons. It's become filled with sludge and everything. It's reduced the capacity of our facility, everything. I believe it's going to end up being a regulatory issue. We did have an inspection not too long ago, and we actually exceeded pH, and I'm thinking this is probably because of that and everything. Which this is budgeted for next year, but kind of the plan is to request proposals, everything, so the work wouldn't actually be done until after the first part of the fiscal year anyway. So my recommendation is request proposals to remove the accumulated sludge from Lagoon 2.
I don't really have any questions on it.
How often do you have to do that?
We did a attempted to clean it back in 22, but the method they used was a long reach excavator. It didn't pan out the way we thought it was going to. Because it's a long reach and it's over 66 foot long or wide, so they couldn't reach everything. And then in between the two lagoons, it wasn't enough space, so they couldn't get on the other side to get that. And so I'm assuming and the last time it was completely cleaned out was when they did the upgrades back in 2012. So I'm thinking we're probably going to end up doing it, I would say probably every 8 years maybe. We'll just have to monitor and see, but I think it's going to be a recurring thing.
So, do you have an idea how they will do that this time?
This time I'm planning on either they come in with a type of dredge, or they can use some type of pumping system where it agitates it and basically it mixes all the solids up and they put it into a tanker truck and then they go land apply that.
Okay.
So this should do a better job is what I'm thinking.
Well, that was the reason I was asking.
Yeah, I think dredging it's the only way. I think when you're getting a bucket in there and you
Yeah.
know, where you got stuff running out, you can't reach it all. I think this will be a better solution.
Make a motion to request proposals to remove the accumulated sludge from Lagoon 2.
Second.
The motion has been made to request proposals to remove the accumulated sludge from Lagoon 2. There's no additional discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Just an update on the well maintenance and treatment project. Crews have been back on site. We did get well 9 back this week. So they're in the process of treating well 10. And that one should be complete tomorrow. And then the only one we'll be waiting on is well 4. And some of the updates I got from them was they're still waiting on some of the drop pipe sections because we had some of those that needed to be replaced, so they had to be ordered. And there were some other bearings and some other items also that needed to be ordered. But when all that comes in, they'll be back on site to put all that back in and we'll be complete. Other than that, if you have any questions, be happy to answer.
You're pretty happy with the doors?
Yeah, for the most part. Some caulking and sealing and stuff like that needs to be addressed. But other than that, yeah, everything looks pretty good.
So they're going to do that on 20th when they return.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll be back and do all that and everything. So then after all the rain yesterday, no water came in the building, everything. So
Good.
even though we see a gap at the bottom of them, no water got in like it did before. So I'm happy that way. So, but yeah, some of the sealing and the caulking job needs to be addressed.
Anything else for Travis? Thank you, Travis. Megan, good morning.
Morning. We have one action item for you this morning. I believe we mentioned a couple weeks ago that we had a comprehensive inspection of our drug and alcohol program on the pipeline side. And the last comprehensive inspection was 4 years ago. I saw that there were some updates to the inspection form protocols from 4 years ago. So resulting from that, they recommended a few amendments to our policy document. That document's enclosed with those revisions highlighted in there for you, and we are asking the board to approve those revisions effective immediately. Happy to answer any questions about those that you might have.
Pretty comprehensive. Pretty thorough.
Really not that much added. I mean, it's just a few.
It doesn't change a thing about what we're doing. It's just to reflect some processes in the policy language that weren't present.
motion to revise the DOT PHMSA alcohol misuse, controlled substance abuse, and testing policy.
Also, to commend the folks in IT and broadband, they've gone 3 years without a reportable injury. Other than that, I'd be happy to answer questions.
Anything else from me? Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Jared, good morning.
Morning. Do have an update on Unit 6. Had a call with Ethos yesterday. The parts did arrive in Italy. Apparently Italy has a holiday in the middle of August for a week where everything shuts down. So that testing is supposed to begin this coming Monday. He was talking about once we get the results from those tests, we can start talking about narrowing it down to weeks for reassembly. So I do feel like things are progressing forward now a little better. I also got a call last night from Investa Forensics. They're the company that inspected Unit 6 for the insurance company. He was asking for some more information and what our proposals, the costs were. He did imply that they intend to make a payment on it. He didn't know exactly what or how much, if it would be a percentage of the total or something, but he did say there would be a payment there. So hopefully we'll be seeing something more there before too long. Ran units 10 and 11 multiple times the week of July 29th. They all ran well. We did have an inspection from DNR for our air compliance, and that was all turned out well. And all state consultants are supposed to be back tomorrow to finish their boring over at the new generation site. And that's all I got, unless you got any questions.
Do you speak Italian?
No, I don't.
See, cardboard is still doing well.
Yep, cardboard and paper stayed the same for the last three to 4 months now.
Great.
We sent out 2 loads earlier this month, and I've got 2 more ordered right now.
Great.
Gonna say we're not sitting on that. We're trying to
No,
ship it out,
no,
aren't we?
We're shipping everything
Good.
we got.
Anything else for Jared? Thank you, Jared. Grant, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Just a couple updates. Boyd Street, water main project, that street is repaired and back open. And a couple things. It's not in your packet. Have reached out to McGuire. They reached out to us last week and had a crew in the area. And we're looking at scheduling. Since then, I have not been able to contact them. There's kind of a scheduling issue there with North Street pump station need to be shut down from September 9th till the end of the month. I don't want to be out of the tower and the pump station at the same time, so I'm trying to work with them to get in and get done, or wait till after September and get them before cold weather. And we did open bids for truck 403 yesterday. There's a couple of minor things I'm talking through with Brian. Hope to have a recommendation for you at the next meeting. Other than that, that's all I have.
Any questions for Grant?
It seems like we got a lot of main breaks here recently.
Yeah,
Is it the
when,
weather or?
It works both ways. When it's too moist, the ground moves, and when it's too dry, the ground moves. And some of it is initially when we made the conversion, the newer disinfectant immediately showed weak places in the main. And now that the mains are getting older, some of it could be that they're not the weak spots are showing up quicker now with the way we disinfect.
Pass on thanks to your crews. They do a good job.
If there's nothing else, thanks, Grant. Doug, good morning.
Morning. Not much to add, just an update on the underground project, it's going well. All conduits installed, so, I work on, full service conduit, primary secondary conduit, as soon as the weather dries out a little bit. But, other than that, don't have anything else to add, unless you have any questions for me.
It's been a really good program or whatever you want to call it, getting that stuff underground. You guys notice it's a lot more helpful on storms and outages and stuff as well. Where's the next place you're going after this
So
one?
keep moving east. Fairlawn now, Fairlawn is still major.
Mm-hmm.
Those blocks, just keep moving east.
Perfect. Great. Good program. Anything else for Doug? Thank you, Doug. Jim, good morning.
Morning. I do have a little blurb about the backyard machine. We did order it 5 weeks ago. They said they had it on the lot. We ordered it, that's why we'll run that much. So we talked to them again, and when we ordered, they said 4 or 5 weeks. We talked to them last week, they said, oh, we haven't got it yet, it'll be 4 or 5 weeks. So we're looking at, evaluating our options on the old one. At that time, we had one guy telling us it was all one system, and if your engine's shot, all your hydraulic pumps are shot too. He was a maintenance guy. Sales guy was saying, no, it's not the case, it's just the engine. We've since talked to a guy in Moberly that's a maintenance guy, and he says, no, they're two separate deals, so if your engine's shot, that shouldn't be anything related to the others. So, 2 out of the 3 of it anyways think that it's worth looking at replacing the engine. That would be somewhere around $8,000 to do that. Try to get your all's feeling on whether we want to proceed with doing that. 2 out of 3 of them think that's what I think. Brian here, he says he puts different engine oil than hydraulic oil, so he's confident that they're separate, and it would just be the engine that have to be replaced. Didn't know if y'all had any thoughts, or if we could just go ahead and send it off and make sure, get an evaluation on that. Whatever.
I'd like to see, definitely get an evaluation on it and see if, if we could get it up and going again for $8,000, it'd be great backup.
Right now, with the continuous delays on the one they said they had a lot, but Doug, at the stage of his process, we don't have access to one right now, so we're kind of without final for installs right now. So, we take it to Moberly and have those guys evaluated. If they say it's just the engine, do you want us to go ahead and tell them to go ahead and replace it, or?
I would say yes.
It's not gonna take them long to get it done if we,
To be honest, I think we'll have it back before we get to the
I guess that's what I'm getting at. If we get this back in a couple of weeks, we'll at least have something.
They say they have 14 of them on the shelf and so we don't necessarily get the full information from them.
I don't think we have a choice. I think we need to go ahead.
Alright, we'll have it shipped off to Moberly. Our contractor that was gonna work on the quarry section, we still haven't been able to get a hold of him, just voicemail. So we're looking at sending him a letter to tell him you've got a deadline, if we don't hear from you by such and such, then we're gonna go to the next bidder, or that's,
Did we ever figure out if he bonded that project or not?
I don't know.
He didn't send anything.
So he probably just.
Screen installs.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever we gotta do to get that process going, cause it's just,
We're running out of time to get ready for the end of the year.
yeah.
Other than that, business as usual. Got blowing fiber up north, and we started blowing fiber out to
thinks that you guys are doing an excellent job of keeping up with everything as best you can.
Staying pretty busy.
How many people are still on the list to hook up?
No, there's still about 100, but, you know, we can't go down off that anymore, so. We've got, I think round one, our target was something like 230, and we're at 225 or so, and we still have 5 more on the round one list that's come in the last few weeks. We're getting close to hitting our target for round one. Pretty full list for round two.
Great. Anything else for Jim? Thank you, Jim. Tony?
Morning.
Morning. Morning.
You guys will see there that you have a copy of the draft of the budget. And then I got a draft copy of the time use rates. You guys have a preference on which one you want to get first, but I figured we would kind of go through the budget. I just kind of finished this up last night. So there's still some changes that I'm thinking I'm going to make. There's a lot of similarities to the prior year's budgets, but I've made some changes, so I thought maybe I'd just kind of hit some things and then kind of see if we have any discussion. If you go there, that first page up there, I have, you know, obviously the board, the council, and the directors. The next page over on the table of contents, you'll see I've changed the format compared to prior years. I've kind of taken the approach of kind of hitting the utility as a summary and then hitting each department. And where you'll see the changes really is in grants. I've kind of got grant and underground facilities department now versus kind of having them blended in with water and wastewater. The financials obviously for his department hit the water and wastewater, but I've kind of broken out his capital projects separate. And then I've added kind of the company's mission statements and employee charts to kind of give you guys an idea. So then you have to go there to page 1, you'll see that we have the utility as a whole and the mission statement, kind of a breakout. And then page 2 is basically our 5-year capital outlay summary. These are projects that have already been started that haven't been completed. Once the project's complete, then it comes off the total project cost. So there's going to see some carryover from prior years that maybe is still open. So that's kind of where we're at as a whole. It's $50 million for the next 5 years. So it's kind of a summary, and it kind of make more sense as we go through that. These summary pages, the details in the back pages, so you'll see page 3 and 4. And you guys stop me if you guys have questions. 3 and 4 is similar to what we had last year in the previous budgets, where we kind of break out kind of what our net income is and kind of look at our overall position on working capital for each department. Just basically the summary for everything behind this, which is more of the details. I think if you kind of look at Marshall Municipal Utilities there on page 4, kind of overall as a utility, we're budgeting for a $2.6 million net income in 25. But we'll have a decrease in working capital of $4.2 million. And then we'll kind of go through that as we get farther in the budget. If you look at the estimated for 24, the challenge is that this is only through June, and I'm estimating the last 3 months, well, basically the 4th quarter. So by the time we have the final budget to you guys in 2 weeks, I should have July books done and kind of have a better estimate. I've tried to go through each department and kind of evaluate and really look at where I think I'm going to be. So I feel pretty confident where we're going to be for 24, but that could change some between now and the next 2 weeks. One thing I will say there at the bottom of page 4, you'll see that our overall decrease in working capital of $566,000, that is including, I'm estimating that we're going to receive $2.2 million of DNR money. So if we don't receive that, that could jump up to $2.5 million decrease in capital. So I have that included in this year, that hopefully we'll see the money before October 1st. That could change. Page 5 is the electric department. I have it broken out between production and distribution. This is basically the current 25 capital improvements for electric production. You will see that there's a carryover there for the skid steer. That was on last year's budget, but we didn't have it because of the Region F grant funding. So my thought is, on these pages are the things that the board has not approved a second time. When we get into the 5-year capital outlay, you'll see things in there that the board have approved, but it hasn't been paid for yet. So I'll kind of explain that as we get further in there. But these are the capital improvements for electric production. And then page 8 is the capital improvements for electric distribution. I will say that in Doug's department, he has a truck 320 that he's looking to get approval for, but we're not expecting delivery and payment until 27. So then when you go to the capital 5-year outlay, you're going to see that we're hitting that cost in 27. So page 9 is and 10. That's just the continuation of Doug's capital improvements. And then page 10 is the 5-year capital outlay. So in there you'll see that like Unit 11 intercoolers has been approved, but we still haven't made payment on that. Unit 6, obviously, you'll see what we totally budget. You see the total project cost of 1.8 million, but we budgeted 1.3. That's what we paid. The difference is what we paid in 24 versus what we expect to pay in 25, if that makes sense. And obviously, I haven't included any insurance claims. If that's sounds like we will have something there to change. I did highlight the items that we do expect to receive some kind of Region F. You'll see there that the auto tie baler, we did get that approved in 24, and I put a note that we are expecting to cover 40% versus the 85 that we got funding for. So I'm just trying to hit everything. To give you guys an example there on page 11, the continuation of the electric distributions capital outlay. We'll take note there that contract tree trimming, the contract's up in 26. So right now I don't have any more tree trimming, but I could update that to include that. I haven't kind of had just a really brief conversation with Doug. I haven't really got into the details yet with those guys, department heads on some things. So where you'll see the big changes is on page 12 is the financials. I kind of have what we've always had in the past, which was the actual estimated budgeted last year and then budgeted for this year. I've extended it out to kind of show a projection of where I think we're going to be for the next 5 years. And I've added some comments down there at the bottom to kind of give people an explanation of what we're thinking. One of the things we are going to recommend is that we eliminate the 7.5% cost adjustment. You'll see down there on the write-up that we did that in 2020, and I calculated up, and it looks like we've given back 5.9 million over that time in adjustments. So I think based on where we're at now, I think we need to eliminate that, and I'll kind of show you some projection cash of where I think we're going to be. I did put a thing in there about time of use rates, making that an option in October. Kind of giving you guys an idea of where our salaries and benefits are going to be. The biggest thing is our fuel and purchase power. Jeff's been communicating with Rebecca down at MPUA to get kind of some final numbers of where they think we're going to be. But right now, that's kind of where we're looking where we're going to be at this year. I do not have any, you look up there at the top, I do not have any generation revenue. I'm doing a worst case scenario there. And you'll see that I'm budgeting overall 25 for a $1.4 million decrease in net income. And that does include the 7.5%, 1.3 million added. You'll see when we get to the next page is kind of our interdepartment loans is kind of really what's funding the electric department right now. I will make a note there that in projected 27 and 28, if you look at other income, you'll see that that jumps up quite a bit. That is from services we're going to receive for the generation units that we'll get paid the maintenance on. So I've kind of estimated that included into the future, kind of where we'll be. I think you go over to the next page. This is something new. Page 13 is kind of a summary of our working capital, and then you'll see the green line there is our where our cash is going to be at the beginning of the fiscal year and where I think it's going to be at the end of the fiscal year. And then I've kind of estimated what our cash reserve policy numbers were going to be. That will change obviously as we get to the end of September. Usually I bring that to the board in around the 1st of October after we get the fiscal year done to kind of give you a solid number of where our cash, based on our policy, where the numbers are going to be, but kind of giving you guys an estimation of where we're at. So you'll see there at budget year 25, we're going to have a decrease in working capital of 2.2 million, and that's going to put our ending cash at 6.6 million, which is 2.7 million below the reserve that I'm estimating for 25. If you go out to 26 and you see that our capital projects are going down, that it increases our, which will increase our cash, but then also lowers the cash minimum reserves. So for 26, I'm showing that we'll be $1 million over our capital reserve policy.
You say again,
You
what
got it.
lowered that minimum?
Yeah, so the way the cash reserve policy works, it's a formula to where we look at the 5-year capital plan, and then if it's due, if we say we're going to do it in 26, then we take 100% of that cost. If we say we're going to do it in 27, we take 80% of that cost. And I don't know if we can have a copy of that. I might not give you that. But there's a formula that we've taken that from, was it Carthage? APPA Carthage has used it, so I've kind of adapted it.
Okay.
So it kind of says, here's the cash you need to have on hand to do the next 5 years of projects, to hit your generation power costs, to hit your capital costs and your overhead.
Those projects will be complete, which will drop our.
Correct.
I got that. Thank you.
So if we have a project out, and you'll see it in water, which I think water is a department that we're going to have to make some changes in, but if we have a huge project out in 25, then it's going to raise our cash reserve minimums now so we can start trying to hit those numbers when they get closer. So you'll see as our capital projects have gone down every year, that cash reserve minimum goes down, which increases our cash over our capital reserve. So if you look at 29, I'm showing that we'll have a $9.1 million of ending cash, which is $4.6 million over what I think our estimated capital reserve policy is going to be. So then I think that's the time where we look at maybe moving some of that money down to the restricted funds, where you have the interdepartment loan fund, the economic development fund. Obviously we have the generation funds that I haven't been putting any money into, just because of the Unit 6 situation. I've been kind of being cautious with our cash. So I think that's the goal, is once we hit that minimum, then we can look at, the board can look at, do we want to move some of that money around? I will point out above, but if you go back up there to 25, budget year 25, sorry I'm jumping around here, but so we have a net income loss of $1.4 million. Then we add back our depreciation, because that's non-cash. And then you'll see our loan payments that are coming back from all the departments is $2.1 million. So that's adding to, so basically electric's getting $2.1 million back in loans. And that's kind of why our cash is growing, even though our net income is at a loss, if that makes sense. You will see that I have something in there about MPUA loans. I'm looking at something with the Jim's building that I can discuss when we get further down. And then the transfers back from internet and natural gas on the equity to start those departments up. And then we subtract out our capital projects, and that's kind of where we get to that negative $2.2 million in working capital. So I'll let you guys digest that more, and then we can ask questions we can, but that's kind of the principle I'm taking. If you go to the water department on page 14, I kind of have the breakout of that, and then we hit the capital improvements. You'll see there that what you guys approved for Travis to get bids on the Dredge Lagoon number 2. I have that included in here. We also have the asset disposal, which I think Chuck had mentioned about. And then the 5-year capital outlay on page 17. You will see the note down there that I have things labeled as WTP study. Those are the things that Burns identified in their study and that we need to have done sometime in the future. When we get over to the cash part of it, I'm thinking I still need to get with Travis and I need to get with Grant. I'm thinking we're going to have to move some projects back, some of those future projects, because of the cash, and I'll explain that here. But, page 18 is basically the same format, financials. I've hit some topics there at the bottom to address, just kind of high notes. You will see that I'm forecasting a fairly flat revenue. Water's is a challenge to predict because it's up some and it's down some. So I'm worst case scenario that I have a slight increase for 25, but then it's fairly flat going forward. You'll see there in 25, after 20, I'm putting an assumption out there that we're going to receive 100% of the grant money. We're receiving 2.2 in 24 is what I'm estimating, and then the remaining in 25, because DNR is saying that everything has to be done and approved or done and completed by June 30th of 2025. And then our operating expenses. So for budget 25, I'm showing a net income of $959,000. The concerns I have going forward is I'm showing losses going forward. Granted, that also includes a flat revenue that I'm not showing any growth. So I think I'm pretty conservative. I think we'll have growth, but right now I'm not showing anything. And the reason I'm showing that is to go over to page 19. If you look there at our cash, at the end of budget year 24, 25, I'm showing our ending cash at $400,000. Now, granted, I have an estimated 24. You'll see that we have $2.4 million of ending cash. That is assuming that we're going to get the $2.4 million of DNR money. So right now we're in the hole in water. That's why I'm thinking we're going to need to move some projects back, because 26 we're out of cash. Now that's assuming that we have no growth and we have the projects that we have now in place. So that's why I'm looking at moving some things around. I think for the water department, we're going to have to kind of look at each year going forward and to decide what we need to do, what takes priority and what doesn't. And you'll see kind of more of that on I think the water department, there's some things I'm recommending we maybe need to move as far as like the filter building, HVAC. And like I said, I haven't had a conversation with Travis yet on this, but depending on the priority of those, we're going to need to move some of those back. If you go back, sorry I missed this, on page 17, there to the 5-year capital outlay, you'll see he has some big projects out in the future there, the aerators, the CO2, and the flexibility improvement, some of those things. I have that note there that if those are projects that we're gonna have to have done. We're just not gonna have the cash, so we might look at some state revolving money or some kind of financing through, either MPUA or the state revolving fund. But ideally, I'd like to push those back into 2030 or further out.
I think what we've seen there, Travis and I have seen on the Burns and McDonald reports, was those are pretty high
Right.
estimates. I think we had the replaced electric motor control center, that MCC, they had that listed at $1 million. And we're gonna do it for 65,000, so.
Well,
Now, the
that's a big
aerator,
area.
I think, it's gonna be high, but I think this should cover all that stuff pretty well.
And Travis did tell me that, but I told him I'm just gonna use what they gave us for now, and then if it comes in, we can adjust it going forward. Page 20 is the wastewater department. It's as far as the same format, the capital improvements, and then the 5-year outlay. You'll see in there that I still have, just like today, Travis, or Eric had the driveway asphalt overlay. We had that budget for 70,000. We had it approved for this year to do for 43, so I can update some numbers. The UV system, I still have budgeted $1 million, which will change that. But you can see that Eric's got, really his next big project is the filter press building. I feel a little bit better about wastewater, where they're at, than water, but if you go over there to page 23, you can see where they're at, their overall. I have them as a net income loss of 19,000 for budget of 25, which is, their cash is still going to grow because the aeration basins. I'm going to back up to. I'm sorry. We'll get that to Grant. That's in Grant's part. But the aeration basins is complete, but I haven't depreciated it yet. So you'll see the depreciation is going to drop up dramatically there in 25 versus 24. So they're having a lot of depreciation hit the books. Which you go over to page 24, you'll see that their cash at the end of budget 25, I have at 1.1 million, which is still 4 million below the reserves, what I'm estimating. But you'll see as their capital projects go down, in 29 they'll actually they'll be over their minimum. And those future years going out, I don't have exact numbers on what capital projects are going to be, but I've kind of looked at trends, and I do have dollar amounts out there for the future years. So obviously these numbers can change as we get further out, but I feel like I'm being pretty conservative, and I think we'll be good in wastewater. So I've also included here something I'd like the board to look at and consider is I've done a cash reserves policy on kind of forecast for sewer mains and I&I. And every year we have 300 allocated for sewer mains. And then we have 300 allocated for I&I. I think CIPP runs, I think the last was like, what, 168, runs 170. We still have that 150 allocated for I&I improvements, which I think we'll probably I need to get with Grant. We need to get kind of a better idea of what that's gonna look like as far as I&I improvements. But if we just kept those 300 and 300, that means we would need to have 900,000 in those accounts to cover the next 5 year projects, which would put our cash reserves over in sewer mains of 365 and over in I&I of 687,000. So something we could look at doing is possibly taking that excess and moving that up into the sewer plant fund, operating and reserve funds, which that would add another $1 million into those funds if we took that money and reallocated it. So that's just something I'm throwing out there for the board to look at, think about. now here's the new section 25 is underground facilities. So I've kind of broken grants department out separate and has his water distribution, capital improvements and his 5-year capital outlay. We tried to include, there's 2 water main projects in there to get reimbursement on. This year, we have budgeted in there. We do have AMI water meters that it's included here because it wasn't approved last year. So if it's on the capital improvements, it hasn't been approved by the board a second time. And then if you go over to the 5-year capital outlay, here's where I think we need to move some things. I'm thinking we need to move AMI out to 28, 29. I just don't think we're going to have cash right now to do that. I know the Reservoir 2 has been kind of carried over. I'm thinking we need to move it out, and maybe the mini excavator. I know Grant's got a lot of stuff on his plate as far as water projects and helping other departments. So thinking for water maybe this year we need to take a little pause and get some things moved out. I haven't made the changes yet in here, but I'm kind of showing you guys what I'm thinking. If you go, that will, I think, get us out to 28 as far as our cash in the positive by moving some things around. And then we can make some decisions there, what we need to do as far as what projects take priority. Wastewater collection side, there's a current year capital improvements, and then the 5-year outlay on page 31. The only thing there I think we need to look at maybe is, I'd like to get with Grant and maybe get a better idea of what sewer main replacements we're going to do. Instead of, in the past, we've always just allocated 300, but maybe we can get a better idea of what projects are urgent, what, kind of get with Grant, maybe he can try to get a game plan on that. And I would say I&I improvements, maybe what are we're going to do going forward there. IT and broadband on page 32. And then the capital improvements. I got to fix that at the top. It says 5-year. Fix that. Gym section. Obviously, we have the grant that's going well. And his outlay, I think we have to have the grants done in, I think, January of 28. So you'll see the grant money kind of project in there. On his 5-year capital outlay, he does have some stuff out in the future. It's kind of doing overhead underground with fiber, and we're looking at maybe if there's additional funding available that Jim's maybe wanting to expand it out to the county even more. That's kind of my first write-up on that, but I need to get with Jim on that. There's something different in there. But on page 35, the financials. For 25, I have Jim, department at $3.2 million net income. And that's a combination. I had grant money allocated of $2 million in 24 that we're just now getting ready to submit here probably next month to submit some. So I got a lot of that carrying forward into 25, so that's why their net income is looking so high because of the grant revenue. Up there in the middle of the page, you'll see it, 67%. I think Jim, the IT department's doing really well. I think until 29, you'll see that I've got them projected at a loss. It's a challenge to try to predict what our grant 2 revenues are going to be. Been talking with Jim, try to kind of get a conservative figure of what we think we're going to be. We do have some growth. The concern I have is, if you look down there at our purchase bandwidth, I know we're expecting that to double in the next couple of years. So I put a little blurb down there at the bottom on projected 26 and 27 that I think we need to at least look at or consider increasing rates a little bit. We had the same internet rates since, I think, 2002. We actually lowered them some. So I'm looking at, and obviously this is gonna be year to year. I think we'll look at 25 once final 25 gets done, but I'm looking at a 7% increase in internet rates in 26, which would only raise $2. So your $30 would go to 32, your 45 would go to 48, and your 70 would go to 75. And then in 27, we could look at doing another 7% to cover the bandwidth, which would raise it to 34, 51, and 80. Obviously that can change. I'm just kind of putting things out there that we need to look at going forward. That, like I said, that could change depending on the growth and where we're at with our grant. And but I think the bigger factor there is our expected bandwidth could double. And the thing is, costs are just have gone up. I mean, things cost a lot more. I know in Travis's department, the line, bleach, CO2, we're doing a good job, I think, of trying to minimize those costs, but they're just everything has just went up in the last 4 years. If you look at his page 36 there, the financial position, his ending cash, I think, is doing good until we get out to 29. We just need to look. Now, I think I'm being conservative, but that's kind of where I have it projected now. Page 37 and 38 is our natural gas department. You'll see that in 27 and 28, you'll see we have the revenue jumping. We're expecting that to increase, if not double, in the next few years due to the generation units that are being installed here in Marshall. But we don't have any capital projects right now for natural gas, and they're well above their minimums in that department. So I'll get a little bit more aggressive at transferring some of that money back to electric to get their equity down. I think it's at $3.5 million now, so we're continuing to lower it. We did transfer 850 last year. I'm going to transfer 200 this year. I have budgeted 250 to transfer this next budget year, and then you can see it goes up, continuing to increase it, and that's still leaving us above our cash reserve minimums. Well, I haven't estimated. Administrative services. The only thing I have in here is I have a write-up on, obviously we had SOA look at a building. The challenges with Jim's department, he doesn't really have a place. So a thought I put in there is looking at doing this project through MPUA finance. And so I kind of have a breakout of what that would look like. And my thought in this is, talking with Jeff, I feel like Jim needs the building. What's the most cost-effective way to do it, and through financing, I think, is the best way. Because we have right now, and I kind of look at it this way, and you guys can tell me what you think, but right now we have $13 million loaned out to other departments. We have $2 million of that coming back in every month or every year, taking a small portion of that money coming back from those departments and applying it to finance the building. That's kind of where we're at with that. We can have more discussion when you guys want to on that. That's kind of what I'm looking at right there for the admin and IT building. The last 2 pages there is some stuff Megan put together that I thought would be good to include in the budget as far as workforce and retirement. And I know that was long and probably confusing, but I'm open to thoughts thoughts, suggestions, concerns. And I know you got, this is your first time seeing it, so I know you guys might need to take it through and review, and we can have conversations later. I guess the approach is that 2 weeks we bring this back, a final version, for you guys to obviously approve, and then it would have to go to the city for 2 readings. So to get that done before October, we'd have to have it approved at the next meeting. And that would allow 2 readings for the city.
We're gonna start a little earlier than we used to make up for the months we takes to get approved. And Wick, I saw puzzled on your face when Tony mentioned, I think, the loan he was talking about with MPUA would be with the electric department.
Oh.
Payments would be.
From the other interdepartmental
Right.
loans to pay that.
Right.
Yeah, so,
You kinda look a little confused there, so I didn't know if you quite knew where he was heading.
Just the normal look.
so the thought is there that the electric department would apply with the MPUA to get the loan.
Yeah.
I think I'm hot, well, I don't know, I think it's 6.3 was more than enough, but we would borrow that money, then based on square footage, that money would be allocated back to each department to pay back electric, but electric would be making the payment. And then obviously if we come in $1 million under that, then that million would get allocated back to each department to pay off. I think water could pay off theirs a little faster, depending on the years they have. And, overall, as an impact to each department, it's really not that significant, I don't think, other than Jim's department, because he's really getting most of the bill. So, but that was it. I talked to Brandon down there at MPUA, and we were looking at maybe a 15-year note, and I think I'm being conservative with 5%, I think. So,
Yeah, they could do that. And those numbers are included in the budget.
yeah, those numbers are flowing through currently as the budget sits now. So,
The building is included
In the budget.
in the budget, correct. Like I said, my only concern is the water department, you know, and they could sell a lot of water, you know, but I think I'm being a little conservative when I'm keeping it flat because costs are going up. So worst case, if the costs continue to go up and our revenues are flat, then there's only one thing to do there. And I don't want to do that, but that's just where we're at. So. And obviously in IT, we'll look at that. You know, it's hard to make true decisions until that grant's done. But I'd like to get ahead of the game before I don't want to play catch up. I guess something. So.
Yeah, I want to commend Tony and staff on this budget. I hope I see the direction we're going. We're looking out a little bit further. While it's hard to do that, I think it does kind of tell us the direction we're headed. And, you know, and whether or not like 28, 29, that's might be where we might have to have an increase in it. That could change, but if it doesn't or if it stays similar, we're prepared for that. So hopefully this helps you guys, you know, looking out further and you know, trying to have a longer look at what the future is. But any input or feedback, certainly let us know. This is for you guys to understand as well. If we can make it easier, we certainly want to.
I think wastewater has gone through a lot of their big projects. I think Doug's gone through a lot of their big projects. So we should have some years where we don't have a lot of major capital projects in that department. So other than Eric's filter building, I think after that he should be good.
We had electric, you got Miami sub and Unit 6, and once those two, I mean, that's really kind of our last substation in it done for some time. So we've spent the last 10 or 15 years kind of upgrading all that, and we're kind of capping it now, and we'll have some years where we're in pretty good shape. I think it's gonna time out good because I'll report in my section on what we discussed at meetings last week.
So the only thing that kind of caught my attention was or one of the things was talking about the CIPP and like the mini X, kind of some things that don't necessarily want to quit doing those
think if we continue doing CIPP, and maybe that's, Grant, take a better look at what we need to do going forward. And if we don't have really much going forward, I think there might be an opportunity to move some of that excess money.
And that's what I caught, we're just gonna move some excess, and not,
I think-
we're not gonna stop the program.
Right, no, yeah. And if there's maybe we identify an I&I problem that we need to do in 2031 or whatever, then that would raise that reserve minimum, so then we need to start keeping more in that fund versus allocating that back to wastewater reserve.
Kinda start working on the I&I.
Yeah.
And we spent a lot of money in the last 20-some years on main replacements and CIPP. When it rains, I pulled up yesterday, we had that rain yesterday morning, it gets to the plant. The collection system's working pretty good.
Yeah.
It's almost working too good. Now, with the improvements he's made, they're able to handle that a little bit better. And I think we should continue that, but yeah, maybe at a reduced level, Tony and Grant will have to get together.
And something you might have saw in there is we don't really have any water project. I don't currently have any really water main projects out in the future right now. So I think I'll have to get with Grant to kind of look and see. Obviously, we're having, like you said, main break. Is that cause for us to maybe look at doing more water main replacements? And right now I don't have those in here. So
A lot of that's really hard to project too.
Right.
'Cause,
It's buried.
yeah, it's you can't go check on it.
right.
But
Maybe what we ought to do is put a valve somewhere on the system, and when it rains a lot, we'll just open a valve and let the water go somewhere else, or everything down to wastewater. Let's go fill up a couple ponds around there.
yeah,
Yeah. No, their treatment system down there has been handling it really well. Your flow's up to date too, I think. I saw you running anything to the FEQ.
yeah, it's amazing how well that CIPP's been working.
It gets there.
It's like you wax the lines and it gets there in a
But
hurry.
if we need to get together, before the next board, I'm open to whatever you guys want to come in and talk about it, or.
I'd like to do that after you got with your department heads
And make some changes.
and make some changes, push the projects that they think, and
Yeah, like I said, water's the department I think we're gonna have to make some changes in. Whether that's pushing everything back a year or pushing things back a few years, but,
yeah, like on the mini X, is there a need for that? I say we have one in next year's budget, but is that
It's the
something
one that we had the motor replaced on, and it's got over 2,000 hours on the new motor. So it's kind of a preventive thing before we have to spend a lot of money on a machine with a lot of hours.
yeah, 'cause then we spent like 20 grand on it this last year to fix it.
Is that the motor that was bad?
So I'm kinda worried about
For
that,
2000?
just little pieces like that, like if we push it out to 29, and that doesn't mean that machine's gonna make it to 29, so.
Well, I think for sure moving I&I out, I think it's a good thing to have, but right now we just,
Yeah, I we've been dealing with
or
that
not
for years.
I&I, AMI, I'm sorry, I said I&I.
Oh, the AMI meters?
The AMI meters.
Yeah, I'd like to see those, but I understand that part too. Yeah, that is what it is. That's not
There's a lot of
necessarily
stuff-
gonna kill us.
We'd like to do and need to do, and
Mhm.
only so much money. So
Yeah.
they're gonna do, hopefully we can work around it. 'Cause, yeah, we don't, last thing we wanna do is raise rates. If we can avoid that by, working budgets out, projects, and equipment out.
Yeah, I mean, the AMI meters, that'll be good for
It will be
later.
a benefit,
That'll be a
to the
benefit.
customers, but,
And the expansion of the junction, we don't have any water, I know was one of the districts, one of their increased limits, you could see
Yeah.
some increased revenue there, I just have it flat right now, which is probably.
he's done good at being conservative. I think there's gonna be some increases, and what we don't show is the new, generation project. There's gonna be electric revenue there, we just don't know
Don't know what it's
how
gonna look
much.
like.
And we did go ahead and show a little bit of the gas transportation revenue, because we kinda had an idea there, the electric depends on if they have to go with if they're gonna get a 5-minute start with the market, or if it's a 15-minute start, so, I don't know where they're applying for that queue now, but if they get the 5-minute start, it's gonna be substantial, because everything's gonna be on 24/7.
And are we still looking at, handling the sewer plant down at, the wastewater plant down at the junction?
We are. I think they're getting ready to get bids. I was over and talked with them at the county yesterday a little bit on another item, but it'll be minimal.
Yeah, I mean, that won't be a huge increase, but will that be another job, or are we just gonna handle it from where we're
Right
at?
now, I think it depends on what the permit comes back. I mean, how much sampling we'll have to do. A system that size that's new, you may only need to sample once a month.
Yeah, I think we should be able to handle it.
And,
Handle it in-house, kinda with what you got now?
yeah, and then Jim will have fiber down there, so they can monitor remotely without even going.
Okay.
But that'll all be paid for by,
Yeah.
sewer district or the county. And we won't be out any money.
Yeah, I was just thinking.
Somebody
income
came up to-
possibilities.
Yeah, but I don't know that won't be a lot, I don't imagine.
Yeah.
I think the big one's the MEC project. I shared the memorandum of understanding that they had made, and kind of given us as a template for what Jared Crew's gonna do. That's kind of where we came up with that estimate there too. And we may need to hire somebody. I don't know yet if that will be the case, but particularly if they get the second phase of this project going, there's a lot of paperwork, daily paperwork and stuff like that, so. The stuff was kind of wait and see stuff.
And we'll create, when that happens, we'll have, we'll track their time, obviously, that they spend on those units, you know, to make sure we're getting paid.
Yeah, the way they pay Macon is, they just figure out how many hours, the rate for each function, then they pay quarterly. They just write the check quarterly, but we wanna make sure that we track that to make sure it's accurate, we're not leaving anything on the table. My feeling is we won't, probably be a little bit left coming back our way, which I'm good with that. So. I think they got it figured out, I don't know how long they can do it. An opportunity there for sure.
Got a little bit of this. The rates for time of use rates. I've updated the electric rate schedule. Really, there wasn't many changes, other than there on page 4, I think I have the time of use rates laid out. The only thing I thought about last night is time of use rates are, there you have your winter and your summer is based on 6 months, which is different than our regular residential rates time frame. We had made a comment in there about making this effective October, but that would leave 1 month of the summer and then November going into the winter. Not a big deal. I didn't know if we wanted to maybe move it to November or just leave it in October.
We can kind of
Something to think about.
timing, yeah, we can talk about, but the overall, concept of time to use and how we've got this, hopefully you guys have had, kind of see that. And we've got outreach materials or some other things that we have. We want to be sure to tell people that switching to this rate isn't gonna automatically lower your bill. It's gonna take effort on the customer's part to move loads or things they do, cooking, laundry, whatever, out of that on-peak period. But it's an opportunity for the ones that are willing and want to do that. There's more opportunities in the summer than there is the winter. Winter it's just kind of tough with those 2 peaks to really cover your costs. So we'll kind of see how that works out. Summer's kind of, if you got an EV, it's a no-brainer. I mean, you want to have time to use, because you're going to charge a large load, and you can schedule where you do it all week. I think this is going to be important moving forward, to have this type of program. I like the fact that we're doing it, or offering it as an option, and not, or that our intent is to offer it as an option, not make people go to it.
Assuming the winter peaks are 9A to 9P. It wasn't on there, I was just curious. Make sure I was
All
looking
day.
at the right thing.
Yeah.
But we're kind of excited about this. I think we'll be the first one in our pool to do it. With rising van costs, transmission costs. The whole point of this is to get that summer peak, move people off of that, which drops those costs. Now not only drops their cost, but it drops our cost. And, with what we're seeing, in capacity and transmission costs, we're definitely moving in the right direction.
It's a substantial savings. Huge.
I haven't ran, I was gonna run y'all's bills before, and see what you guys have saved, if you've saved anything. We haven't billed you guys yet, so.
We should have,
Wish we did.
we always charge, yeah, we always charge at night, so.
I think
Appreciate it.
we could save like $6 or $7, I think, but.
Look at you go.
Right.
Yeah, mine would be I could get people to get a programmable thermostat, move it from 70 to 73 from that 1 to 8. Just those hours it wouldn't be running.
Well, this gives people an option. You know, people are having trouble making ends meet. There's an opportunity there for them if they're willing to do what's needed to lower their bill. And that's a good thing. If you can give your customers options and choices to save money, that's what we want to try to do. That's why we're here. So.
Hard part's the biggest point is gonna be the communication and getting the customer to understand those options.
Yeah.
And letting them make a choice.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Megan and worked on some outreach materials. We've worked with our CSR staff because they're going to be fielding calls, and we've got some training scheduled with them. But we've kind of been gradually here and there, helping them out. But we're going to have some training there. Have some stuff on our webpage.
Would it be worth trying to do a community outreach at the Martin Center or something?
If we did, I don't know that I want to push this real hard with us launching it going into the winter because there's really not those opportunities there. I think next spring, before we get to the summer months, I think that's our customer's biggest opportunity to save, and that's when it's going to save us as well. Being able to drop those capacity and transmission costs. Transmission costs are going up every year. I'll talk about that a little bit in my section. And I've got a little flyer there from SPB that kind of talks about supply and demand, and we're just in a critical time right now.
I think, didn't you say a lot of other utilities are making it mandatory at time of use, so.
I saw one yesterday, of course, it was in the Northeast, and I think their peak was like 50 cents, and their off-peak was like 14, and they made it mandatory. It was a municipal, but, they did it several years ago, and they've been able to show where it's dropped their, of course, when you price it at 50 cents, that'll
50
move,
cents?
that'll move some load. Well, you get on the East Coast and West Coast, your electric rates are a lot higher than they are here in the Midwest. We're pretty fortunate.
But I think we will have this back to you guys next board meeting for approval.
Yeah, then it's got to go to council as well, so we'll have to go do a presentation and hopefully bring them up to speed a little bit.
Right.
Anything else?
I'm done.
Okay. Any other questions for Tony?
Not at this time.
Thank you, Tony. Jeff, good morning.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Jeff.
Did have, MPUA OPEB meetings last week. Did review their budget as well. That'll be up for approval at our annual conference. Some of what we're seeing there are increased capacity costs, transmission. I got our transmission forecast for 25. That looks like it's going to be about an 11% increase. It's been increasing every year. We don't know exactly what that amount is because I think that's kind of a late case, so to determine the tariff. But there's transmission shortages. Where your traditional generation has been retired, and your transmission was built around that. Well, you retire, moved away, and then you find a renewable resource somewhere else where there's not. The customers, and you got to transport that back. So transmission is being a lot of money put into transmission to really kind of help the power industry transition to more of a renewable market, get those there. So there's going to be a lot of investments in transmission. that make that are the customers, people that pay it at the end. So, you know, I think in our transmission is determined on our demand. What do we have to reserve for Marshall on their peak day, that 1 hour? And that's where time of use kind of comes in to kind of help control that a little bit. So, but yeah, that's you know, a big topic down there. Partial generation project, it's going pretty good. I think they've got the soil borings done on the turbine site. They got they're scheduled to come in Monday for the diesel tanks, but it rained all day, so I think they'll be back tomorrow. I know they're continuing to work with solar on the turbines. A lot of that's guaranteed emissions. We sent them fuel. I think they sent a fuel sample off of our diesel, sampling gas. I mean, there's a lot that goes in because the emissions are determined on the fuel, and solar is able to look at that and do that. So, moving along there, been in contact with Penny, who is the MEC legal on the property, and then some of the common facilities agreements that we'll have with them. So I'm hoping to have those. He's hoping to have the real statement done this week, and then in a couple weeks the common facilities done. So I'm hoping in September we'll have all the agreements and everything in place, ready to, you know, have the board approve it and take it to council. But yeah, so far so good. Been spending time with Tony on the budget. One thing we did see last week at the MOPEP meeting, they have it's a hometown grid, and so MOPEP is working with this vendor to offer this to MOPEP members at a discounted price, and then they're offering it to us for free through November. Tony and Jared and I had a call with them day before yesterday, and it's really pretty neat. It's something that I think would be helpful for us and really for the customers. And what it is you can call in, you can text in. It basically takes care of all your outages. So, you know, we had an outage the other morning. I think we had a squirrel knock a feeder out, and we had 500-600 people out. So the dispatchers answering the phone, directing crews, and watching SCADA turn pumps and things on and off. And
And call staff.
and you gotta call staff, and on this, you will never get a call. They won't take care of all of it. Customers can send in pictures, and we can set up cell phones with our staff who's on call. The on-call staff will directly get those notifications. It puts a log or a record of it, so if you have it qualifies as a FEMA event, you've got that to turn into FEMA, which makes it a lot easier. There's a place in Kentucky, I think, that had a big event. But if the board doesn't have any objections, I'd like to try the free version until November. But the customer feedback they get is really good because it gives you an answer within 10 seconds. And it was pretty, it's AI, but it's very, I mean, we typed in whatever, you tried to throw it on. And it was the most polite computer I have ever made. That thing, we tried to get it.
You couldn't even tell it was a computer.
Yeah.
It sounds like
Good.
a person. I mean, the messages, you would have thought someone was texting it back to him. There's a guy tried to even get him to bring pizza to his house because he didn't have no power. It's pretty
It
slick.
complaints, and I mean, we tried to make it mad, and it was the most polite computer ever. I mean, and it really gave a consistent message. It gave great advice. I thought it was definitely worth checking out. So if you guys don't have any objections to that, we'll try to get something set up and kind of let you know.
Alexis has got a brother.
The IQ of this brother is substantially higher than Alexis. I was impressed. I thought there's no way. And it was, I think it would be a great for our customers because they can log on if there's a certain event. They can log on to that and see the chat that everybody else has been having. You know, he showed us the one in Kentucky and tree them online, and when they show a picture, you can attach a picture and send it in, so it goes directly to your field
Nice all-in cost.
Yeah, and if you look at our transmission though, it's at $8, so, I'd say 2/3 of our electric bill, wholesale electric bill every year is capacity and transmission. The energy's not the cost, it's making it, or having that capacity available that can make it, and then the lines you get. Yeah, there's some good information on this handout.
Any other questions for Jeff? If not, we'll, thank you, Jeff, and we'll move on to cash disbursements.
Appreciate the email.
Oh, yeah. I try to do that every
Really
time
kinda
now.
tells you where all the big stuff is.
Try to,
You don't
yeah.
gotta search for it.
The oddball stuff that's gonna, yeah.
Reduces the shock value.
I do what I can.
You got tired of us going, come on, Tony.
Yeah, it's just everything costs so much. Doesn't discriminate at all.
Really not bad considering 1.2 was most of it, our energy. Make a motion to pay the bills, approve cash disbursements.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve cash disbursements. There's no other questions. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next board meeting will be Thursday, August 29th. Does that work for everybody?
Were we gonna move that meeting? There was one meeting we were talking about in September.
The September
okay.
meeting.
You read your email. Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.